furnace, but I see a fourth one. And it looks like the Son of God walking around in the furnace and was not burned by the fire. You see, the fire cannot burn. And only the thing that burned on Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was the thing that had them bound. And that was a rope, maybe a rope or something that bound them and to immobilize them. But then that's the thing that burned, the thing that had them bound. But they was not burned at all. You see, when God is on your side, nothing can hurt you. You see, Jesus is, if he's with you, he's more than the world against you. You know, I'm reminded of what Jesus declared. He said, if you do the will of my Father, I will liken you unto a wise man that built his house upon a rock. And when the rain and storm descended upon his house, the house did not fall because it was built on a solid foundation. When the foundation is Christ, that's a solid place. You always need a solid foundation when you're building. If you're not building on a solid foundation, you're building on a shaky foundation. If you do not the will of my Father, I will liken you unto a foolish man that built his house upon the sand. And when the rains and storm descended upon his house, great was the fall of that house, because it was built on a shaky foundation. And anything that is not built on Jesus Christ is a shaky foundation. Jesus is the solid foundation. You know, Daniel had his hope on Jesus Christ. And Jesus is the solid foundation. The three Hebrew boys had their faith in Jesus Christ. That's a solid foundation. They walked around in the fire and no doubt wondering what's going to happen to the one that didn't get thrown in the fire. Because God was with the three Hebrew boys. They got out and the king said, I think I see a fourth one. And it looked like the Son of God. And they brought the three Hebrew boys out of the furnace and they began to see, they showed that God in heaven was with them. And see, that's what will happen when we put our trust in God. The God of heaven is the only one who can keep us. Amen? He's the only one who can keep us. And so Daniel also, Daniel was able to show his strength in the Lord. You see, the king continued to, the reason this happened to the three Hebrew boys was because Arioch, one of the king's men, he was the captain and told them that, hey, they're not bowing down. In other words, that's what will happen to you sometimes. Sometimes jealous people will try to put you down. And they'll tell somebody they're not doing what we're doing. You know? But you just keep on trusting God. If you trust in the Lord, He will work it out. Want to do it? He'll work it out. God will work it out. You know, Daniel ended up in a lion's den. And you know, the lion could not hurt Daniel because, and I don't want to tell the whole story about how he got there, but it took some process for him to get to the den. It took a process for Daniel to be, and they threw him in, and even though the king saw that Daniel's God was greater than anything he ever seen, but he still let people talk him in. His pride and arrogance as a nation. His pride and arrogance caused him to put Daniel in a lion's den. And he saw that Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had the real God of heaven on his side. Because they had seen, they saw when they ate the food, they came out so much better than the king's men.
Yeah.
They saw that the 3 Hebrew boys was in the fire and didn't get burned. And then they should know that if you throw Daniel in the lion den, you're going to just see God work again. You just going to see God work again. You see, so God always have a way. He have a way out for his people. So Daniel, you know, he prayed. Daniel prayed. Look, he looked toward Jerusalem. Looked to the north toward Jerusalem every day. He raised his window up and prayed to God of heaven. And that's what we ought to do. We don't necessarily have to pray out the northern end of the window, but we can just pray to God. Pray to God. We don't have to turn to Jerusalem, but pray to God. God hears our prayer. Amen? Oh, yes, he does. He hears our prayer. So we want to thank him today for his goodness. We want to thank him for his mercy. We want to thank him that we have a God who, he's beyond the astrologers, magicians, soothsayers, and Chaldeans. He's above all of them. He sits up high and he looks low, and he thinks low. He doesn't think above. We can't stick our chest out and say how great we are, because we are nothing. We are nothing without Christ. Amen? Amen. Some people like to say, I'm a self-made man. But you know, if God don't help you, you're not going to make it. Amen? Amen. If God don't help you, you can't make it. We need God. Amen. We need God to help us. And we want to thank him today. And I'm not going to hoop today, brother.
That's all right. That's all right.
But, okay, so I'm on, and I'm ending by saying, Jesus